Okay. Hi, everyone. Welcome to today's session, which is how to use Zoom to conduct sessions online, whether it's Vihasa or whether it's any sessions that we're conducting. So we're going to have a look at some of the Zoom features today. I hope everyone can hear me clearly. If there are any issues, please do let me know so that everyone's clear. Okay, great. Thank you, Manas. Bye. All right. So we're going to get a little technical today. At any point, if you want me to answer certain doubts and questions, please do let me know. So here are some of the things we will be covering today, which is as a facilitator, some things to keep in mind when we're conducting the session online, or how do you log into Zoom? Because there are a couple of different ways to log into a meeting. How do you schedule a meeting? How do you look at the chat? How do you handle the participants? How do you control the screen, the sound, role of the host, co-host? So couple of different things that we'll be looking at today, which are going to help us have a smoother rollout of the session that we're conducting. Okay, so a few tips to keep in mind, especially for the host or the facilitator. Number one is to improve your typing skills, especially because if we are a facilitator and we are taking down or note taking the sharings that participants are doing, it would be good to just take down the keywords. There are people who try and type down the entire sentence that the person's saying, and while doing that, a lot of important points get missed out. So the trick is just catch the keywords, even if it's just words like happiness or effort, something like that. Just type the keywords. Be familiar with the interface. If you are conducting a session online, your participants should have the best experience of the session. And one way to have the best experience of the session is if the host or the facilitator knows what they are doing and there are no glitches. Sometimes we do have technical issues which are out of our control, but for us, it would be best if we know what we are doing with the session. So we should know where the chat box is. We should know where the participant panel is. We should know how to unmute, mute. If there is a disturbance from the participant side, how do we deal with that so that the others don't get disturbed? So as a facilitator, as a host of the meeting, these are some things that we should be aware of. Um, Basic functioning of PowerPoint. We don't have to create fancy things, but basic tools of how to use a PowerPoint are helpful because that's one way we are showing instructions on the screen, right? So whether it's making slides or whether you're showing a already made slide, how do I share slides? How do I share sound in case I'm showing a video or background music? And how do I take down notes? So these are some of the things and some duties, which is housekeeping for the meeting. Now, as a facilitator or as a host of any session, it is important for you to log in from a system. That can be either a desktop or a laptop. You cannot host a meeting from the phone. I'm not saying it's technically not possible, but all the features are not right in front of you and not available on the mobile phone. So you do have restrictions and limitations. So if you're a participant, that's fine. But if you're conducting a session, ideally laptop and desktop is the best option. You must have an eye on the participant panel and chat box at all times. So it's a little bit of multitasking. And I will show you how my screen usually looks when I'm conducting a session where everything's open and I have an eye on everything. It just helps to, make it more interactive and make it easier even for the participants. Keep everything ready and prepared. If you know you have to show a video during your session, if you know you have to show music, if you know you have to show a presentation, keep it open, keep it ready. Once the session starts, don't go fumbling about trying to see which folder, where did I save it, where is it? Keep everything ready and prepared and open. And I'll tell you why, because one of the ways we share screens on Zoom is also they actually show you all the different applications or things that are open on your laptop, and you're supposed to choose from those options. So all these things that you need to share should be open and ready. Test everything before the session. Audio, video, camera. Are you looking bright enough? Because as a facilitator, if you're sitting in darkness and people can't see your face very clearly, it's not a very good experience for the participants when they don't even know who's talking or they can't see the person who's talking very clearly, the speaker. So try to have some light source that falls on your face so your face looks clear and bright. Yeah, so just test everything because even if they can't hear you, that's not a good experience for the participant. It is important. I don't have a co-facilitator today though, but if you are doing an online session, it's good to have a backup person who is helping you, especially in tech. So now that I've been doing it for so long, I can handle tech and the session. But ideally, it is always better to have at least 2 or 3 people because number one, technology is unreliable. If my Wi-Fi comes off right now, you will all just be left in the dark and I'll be like, oh my God, what happened? So it's always good to have 2 people or 3 people who are handling this. So in case my technology fails me, someone else is there to pick up where I left off. And it's very, very important for the participants to have a good experience. So that is a priority for us. So now we get into the technical aspects. How do we log into Zoom? Couple of different ways to do it. Number one, it's very important for all of us to have a Zoom ID for us to practice these things or have mini sessions by ourselves. The paid Zoom ID, you have monthly and yearly subscription, so you need to have a look at that. But the free session, anyone can sign in really, and most of the features are the same. Almost all features are the same. You can still use breakout rooms, you can still use polls, you can have a meeting. The only challenge is that your meetings can only be 40 minutes and then it just stops by itself. But you can always click on the same link and rejoin the meeting after 40 minutes for another 40 minutes. So the free ID, same features, but 40-minute time limit. So sign in with your email ID, very simple to do. Now logging into Zoom, you'll see today also for this session, you had one link which looked something like that and another one which was meeting ID and just the ID, the 10-digit, 11 digits, whatever. So the one that is the link, usually that has the password embedded, which is why when you click on a direct link, sometimes they don't ask you for the password and you just get into the meeting. And other times, if you're typing in the meeting ID to join a Zoom meeting, then you have to type the password separately. So that's one. These are 2 different ways to do it. Now to join from the mobile phone, again, start the Zoom app, click on the Zoom app on your cell phone, type in the meeting ID, type in your name. Then if the meeting has a password, they'll ask you for a password. So this is a little, the longer method of doing it. And the shortcut is, like I told you, just click on the direct link and you can join Zoom. The next step, which you can see over here on the 4th image, is you have to join the audio of the meeting. So you can either do call via device audio, which is on Wi-Fi, or dial in, which usually we don't use, but a lot of corporates use this, wherein they have offices all over the world, and sometimes people just dial in the toll-free numbers to join in. We don't do that right now. So depending on your use, these are the 2 options available. So pick the Wi-Fi one. Now to join from the desktop, similar thing, go into your Zoom meeting app. Either you can go in through the application or on the website, you can type zoom.us and you will be taken to the Zoom thing and then you can join a meeting from there as well. So these are some ways to join the meeting. Again, from your desktop or laptop, they will ask you to join audio. Similarly, join with the computer audio. Again, phone call and all is an option, but join with the computer audio is what we usually do. Okay, so I have a small video on how to sign in and schedule a meeting on Zoom. So we'll just quickly have a look. At this point, does anyone have any questions before we continue to go into the details? If you have any questions, do let me know. You can write it down on chat and I'll take them as I can. Okay, so we'll move on to the next slide. Cool. Thank you.
So this is our meetings panel, and we click on schedule a meeting to schedule a new meeting. We type in whatever topic that we want. We decide the date, when do we want it, what time do we want it, and for how long. Time zone, everything can be changed. Now there's also an option to make it a recurring meeting. That means, is it going to happen every week, every day, every month at a particular time? So it'll automatically set up that meeting for you. So these are some of the functions for that. Next is the passcode. So you can choose whatever passcode you want for the meeting, and you can choose whether you want waiting room or not. You can either automatically record meeting, or you can just do it manually when you go. So that's how you do it. Now if we don't do recurring meeting, that's completely fine too. Now there's an option to make it a personal meeting ID, which is not required at this point. We'll not go into that. So we just have to type generate automatically and then save. Once we click on save, we will get the meeting ID, the security, which is passcode, the invite link. So you can just copy invitation and then copy and paste this invite to WhatsApp or email or wherever, however you want to send the details to whoever's going to attend the meeting. For example, here I'm just saving it on Word to show you how. You can just copy paste it. Okay, and then you can edit the meeting settings. So once you edit the meeting settings, you can change a few things, change the date, change the time. Here we made it a recurring. So now once it's a recurring meeting, when I edit again, they will ask me, do you want to edit all meetings or only this one particular meeting on this particular day? So again, that's an option and you can choose. So that's basically how you schedule a meeting.
So that was something I recorded on how do you schedule a meeting. Now for basic meeting settings, I think I'll actually share my screen and show you live how to do that. Just a second. I'm gonna try and do that. And my other backup plan is to show you for my free ID. Just a second. Okay. Okay, you can see my screen, my account. So you go into your account once you've already signed in, go to settings. Okay, so here are all your admin things like profile, all your different meetings, whether you want it to be in a webinar mode, whiteboard, recordings, all your cloud recordings will be stored here. And settings is what we're looking at right now. So there are a couple of different subheadings for settings as well. I'll take you through some of them that we need. Require that all meetings are secured with one security option. This means that either you should have a password or a waiting room. At least one of the two things should be there. Completely optional. If you want it, great. If you don't want it, that's totally fine. I've turned it off because sometimes I feel like I don't have to have a waiting room or password. Again, waiting room, if you enable, that means it will always be there. But here I've disabled the always feature. But as soon as I joined in the meeting today, from the participant panel, I enabled waiting room, which I'll show you a little later. So even if you don't enable here, you still have that manual option later. So that's okay. Require passcode when scheduling new meetings. I don't need it. Again, up to you. Require passcode for personal meeting ID. Now, personal meeting ID is something that never changes. It's always there. When you go into meetings, you'll see schedule a meeting and then you'll see a personal meeting ID. But I always prefer a generic one. So for different purposes, I generate a new meeting and I don't use this one all the time. Again, require passcode for participants joining from phone, doesn't matter, don't need it. Embed passcode. So this is something I've enabled, which is what I was telling you earlier. If someone clicks on the direct link, the passcode is already embedded in that direct link. So they don't have to type the password again. They can directly join the meeting. So that's a good thing. Only authenticated meeting participants, I don't need this. So I have disabled it. So a lot of these features, and Zoom has so many features, and new features come out like all the time. So most of these features are not required. So we'll just see what we need. If the waiting room is enabled, it's okay. We don't need all these things. You can have a look at it, but most of it is not required. So I'm just going to jump into things that we do need. Now, in schedule meeting, host video. So do you want to start meetings with host video on? No, I want to start the video on my own when I'm ready for it. Same with participants. I want participants to be able to start the video when they are ready. So I don't want to force them to start with their video on. So this is off from my side. Again, audio type. Do you just want computer audio, which is Wi-Fi, or do you want telephone? You can change it. It doesn't matter. Allow participants to join before host. Now, this is a tricky one because there are some meetings which only the host can start. Like if I have the ID and password of this account and I have scheduled a meeting from this account, I need to log in and start the meeting before all my participants come. Only then can they join the meeting. So that's if I don't allow this. When you say allow participants to join before host, means you have the link, you have the meeting ID. Even if I have not started it from my side, you can enter the meeting before me. So that's what this says. So I have enabled it because a lot of times I prepare meetings for people in which I'm not going to be a part of. So I'm not going to come in and start it. So they get the ID and then they can just join in whenever they have to without having the sign in and password. So that's the benefit of this. Allow Zoom rooms to start meeting with host key. Host key is something I'm going to talk about in a little bit. That means you can become a host of a meeting and have all the controls without having the sign in and password of the Zoom ID. So this is the magic key that allows you to be a host without being an account holder. Don't need all these other things. Mute all participants when they join a meeting. Important. A lot of times participants will come and join the meeting after we've already started. So even after I started explaining, a lot of people joined in later. If I would not have muted them automatically, we would be hearing a lot of background noises throughout the session as and when people join, which we don't want. So it's better that they're all muted when they join in. Next is meeting chat. So right now you have the chat option. And right now anyone can chat with anyone else. Either you can chat with the host or you can chat with everyone or you can send a personal chat to each other. I have enabled all this, but I have the control in the settings to decide what kind of combination I want. So should I allow people to chat with anyone and everyone directly? Or is no one allowed to use the chat? Or can they chat only with the host and co-host? So all these are options. You can choose what kind of setting you want for your meetings. Allow participants to delete messages in meeting chat. In case they've sent something and they want to retrieve it, they can delete it. Enable screenshot feature in meeting chat using emojis. So I just enabled all that. I've enabled direct messages wherein two of y'all can message each other, even though I am the host, I'm not involved, that's okay. You can auto-save meeting chat. So for example, sometimes we're having sessions where a lot of people, especially in Vihasa sessions or when we're facilitating a workshop, and a lot of participants send answers or their sharings over chat. So if you want to save those answers and those sharings, you can just enable meeting chat auto save. So it will automatically save it on the host's local computer, and you will have all that text, all those sharings with you. Send files via meeting chat. So you can send images, you can send PDF documents, Word files. Or if you want to send something over chat to everyone or one person personally, you can do that. Co-host. So co-host is the person who has similar features to the host, and they help you regulate the meeting. So for example, if I am the host, maybe another person's helping me with tech support. Or while I'm conducting a session, someone's keeping an eye on the participants or the chat, or making sure I'm audible, audio is working fine. So you need someone else with all the control who can help you run the meeting smoothly. If I disable this, then I cannot make anyone co-host. Then I'm on my own. So co-host is a good thing to have, and it's optional. So I always enable this. Meetings, polls, and quizzes. You can have quizzes also. If you're conducting a workshop, you can create a quiz from in advance. Okay, you don't have to do it during the session. You can create the poll or you can create the quiz and keep, and then you can launch it during your workshop. Like I have a mini poll for y'all just to show you how it's done at the end of it. So you'll get an idea of it. They have a basic version and they have an advanced version where you can have multiple choice questions, you have matching, you have ranking, like rank these in order sort of thing. You can have short answers, long answers, multiple choice questions, so you can actually create a poll however you want. Meeting survey, that's fine. Always show meeting control bar, yes. Show Zoom windows during screen share. Now I have enabled this so that I can show you my Zoom windows and show you what I'm doing behind the scenes. If I close this, you won't be able to see the screen you're seeing right now. Screen sharing. Enable, because I am sharing my screen to show you the PowerPoint. I'm sharing my screen to show you whatever you're seeing right now. So it's important to enable this so you can share something for the participants. How many participants can share at the same time? So you can actually have multiple people sharing their screens together. But in the past, we have had issues wherein some people are seeing one person's screen share, other people are seeing the second person's screen share. So not everyone's seeing the same thing. So last time we tried this out, it didn't work so well. So it really depends. Who can share? So I have allowed all participants to share. But when someone's sharing and I want to take over, I can take over. So that's something that I have also enabled. Again, this is disable screen sharings or whatever. It's very important to keep this off. Annotation, what it means is participants can draw on screen or circle things or make marks on screen while you're presenting, and everyone can see that. And it's very annoying and disturbing when you're conducting a session. So it's better to turn it off. Do not give people that permission to draw on screen. Whiteboard, it's good to enable. What we do is when we are conducting a workshop and participants are sharing something and we want to note it down, I note it down on an empty PPT slide that I keep ready. So, and they can see what I'm doing because I share my screen. If I don't want to note it down on a PPT screen, I can note it down on a whiteboard, which is also one of the options. If I share my screen, whiteboard is an option in share screen. So they'll be able to see a whiteboard and I can take notes on that. Remote control is where one person sitting in some other faraway area can control the content of screen share or my screen. So that's something. Slide control is if I'm presenting, somebody else has the option to change slides or control the presentation. So this is also an option in case someone doesn't want to do the screen, like even though they have the PPT and they're sharing their screen, but they want to give someone else the control of changing the slides, that's allowed. Now, meeting reactions. You would have seen that you are allowed to, okay, so one question is how to note down in whiteboard. So maybe we'll try that out a little later. Thank you for that question. We'll definitely give it a shot. So meeting reactions, you would have seen at the bottom of your screens, or somewhere, you can share meeting reactions. You can share emojis like clapping, thumbs up, things like that. So I've enabled that. You can also disable that. Allow removed participants to join in. So if you accidentally kick someone out of the meeting, they can join in again. You can turn this off, and if someone is creating a hindrance to your workshop and you want to kick them out and then they can't join back in, that's an option as well. Show invitee list in participants panel, allow users to change their names when joining a meeting. So a lot of times you'll see participants with meetings which are like the phone, the phone models, or like we have someone called Dell right now today. So maybe by default, it takes the name of your laptop or mobile phone and you can change it to your actual name. So we allow participants to rename themselves and change their names. Allow host or co-host to rename participants in the waiting room is not really required as according to me, but you can enable this. Okay, breakout room meetings. Breakout room meetings are very interesting, very helpful when you have, for example, 20, 30 people or even 10, 12 people, and you want to break them down into pairs of twos or maybe groups of 3 where they can discuss a point internally between them and then come back to the main group. So that's what we use breakout rooms for. Here we have a couple of new options that breakout room has come up with. One is you assign participants to which room they have to go to, and you can automatically send them there. Broadcast message to participants. So if everyone is in different breakout rooms, I just send a message and it reaches all the rooms automatically. You can broadcast your voice to breakout rooms. So if I click on that option in breakout rooms and I just say, okay, you have 2 minutes left, that's what everyone in the different breakout rooms will hear. And allow hosts to view activity status. So what they're doing, are they sharing screens? What are their reactions? This is something I haven't tried yet, which is captions, but it will be interesting to try. Virtual backgrounds. So in case you don't have a very pretty background behind you, you can either blur your background or you can use one of the virtual backgrounds. You can even create your own, like just download a nice JPEG background from the internet, use it as your Zoom background, or even Zoom itself has a couple of options. Immersive view is when you have one background and all the participants, it looks like they're all in the same place. So they're all put into the same background. I've never tried this, but I know about it. Yeah, rest is quite all right. And live stream of meetings. If you want to live stream a meeting, you can probably, you'll have to do a lot of back-end work. I'm not going to get into that today. But you can check out YouTube for videos on how you can do that. Usually we use custom live streaming service. It's a bit complicated. There are a couple of steps to do, so I'm not going to get into that right now. Enable stop incoming video feature. If a participant shares their video and I feel like I don't want them to share their video, I can just shut the participant video. I don't need permission to do that. When a cloud recording is available. So, okay, we have cloud recordings, which is what's happening today, right? It's going to go into my Zoom recording. So it's going to be here after today's session is done. It'll take some time and then it'll be available over there. So yeah, that is most of the meetings. I know it was a lot to take in and I hope it was okay and you could understand most of it. I'm just going to share my presentation again. Okay, so that was the basic meeting session that we went through. If we allow participants to join before host, can they be in waiting room if we want? I don't know. I think so. I think that then you'll have to enable the waiting room option. Then there is an option where even if they join before you, they can be in the waiting room and stay there until you allow them into the meeting. I don't usually use that option, but it is there. So thank you for that question. Good question. Okay. Settings before meeting starts. Like I told you, annotation is where people can randomly draw on screen. Disable that. Okay. Uh, some meeting settings that you should know in the participants panel, and you won't be able to see this until you are a co-host or a host. But when you go into the participants panel, there are these 3 dots. When you click on those, these are some of the options that you get. One is you can mute participants upon entry, which I do recommend. Allow participants to unmute themselves only when you want them to share something. If you feel like you're conducting a session where you've invited a speaker to speak for half an hour and you don't want anyone to disturb them at this time, then remove that tick mark. Don't allow people to unmute themselves. So then there will be no background noise, no random people speaking in between. Allow participants to rename themselves. We've already gone through that. Play sound when someone joins or leaves. No, because then every time someone, because of technical difficulties or because they have to leave or someone joins in between the meeting, you'll keep hearing sounds and it's going to be very disturbing. Enable waiting room. I can turn this on and off whenever I want. So as soon as I joined the meeting today and I started this meeting, I enabled waiting room until I was prepared with my screen, with all my presentations, with my screen share. And lock meeting. Lock meeting means nobody can enter. So if I lock the meeting right now with 13 of us, nobody else can come into the meeting. So it becomes a closed meeting. Merge to meeting window means it's just gonna go, like right now it's floating, it's just gonna go on the side and become a big thing. Does anyone have any questions? I thought I saw a question. Okay. All right, so chat. Now again with chat, even though we have this settings option in settings, we can still change it over here. Wherein do you want participants to chat with nobody, host only, or everybody publicly? So you have those options over here. When you're sharing screen, the meeting controls go up. So if you don't share the screen as a host, you'll see all the controls down. But when you're sharing your screen, all the controls go up. So it's a good thing to know. Otherwise, you'll be like, oh, where did everything go? Recording meeting and full screen on PPT. So when you're recording a meeting, you have 2 options. You can either record on your local computer, so it will be saved on my laptop somewhere in my documents folder, or you can record to cloud where it will be saved in my Zoom account in the recordings panel, which we saw earlier. And I can download it from there, or I can share that link so that other people can see the recording on Zoom. So that's recording to cloud. When you are sharing your PPT, when you click on this button, it's the shortcut to go full screen. So just wanted to share that. Now sharing screen. When you have the option to share screen, you'll see this button at the bottom, which says share screen. When you open it, you will see this window that will pop up. So here again, on top, you have basic, advanced, and files. So first we'll have a look at basic. Now, basic is screen. Screen means people can see your entire screen, everything that you're doing right now, which is something I don't recommend. Because when I'm conducting a meeting, I have a lot of things open. I have PDF files that I want to refer to open. I have PPT, which I'm usually sharing. I have WhatsApp web open. I have some background music links open. And I don't want people to see everything that I'm doing or how I'm juggling between screens. I want one screen to be stable while I'm doing all the juggling back end. So you do not need to share your entire screen. You can just share the PPT that you want to share or the video that you want to share. So here is like, you can see my WhatsApp web is open and they can tell me, do you want to share this? Do you want to share that? So usually just click the link of the thing that is open that you want to share, whether it's a video, whether it's a presentation, anything, or a PDF even. If you are sharing background music, like those of y'all who joined me from the beginning, y'all saw that before I started the meeting, there was some background music playing. Only if I tick mark on this share computer sound will you be able to hear the background music. And a lot of times people forget to tick this because it's at the bottom in the corner. So they feel like they're sharing the sound, but participants can't hear it. So it's just something to keep in mind. And then you just click on the share button and then people can see your screen and hear your music. So that is, yeah, only one person at a time can share. So if you have a host and a co-host or two people facilitating a workshop, and if you decide, oh, I will share the screen, but you share the sound, it doesn't work. The person who's sharing the screen also has to share the sound. And you can do both, right? You can share your PowerPoint and you can click on this share computer sound. So in the background, in one of the Google links or whatever, you have some music playing and people will be able to hear that. So they can only hear the music, but they can see only the PPT. So that's how it works. In the advanced sharing screen, there are a couple of things. One very cool feature is PowerPoint as virtual background. So what's going to happen is you are going to see the PowerPoint, the PPT that you are showing, and your face will be tiny, cropped in a corner at the bottom, and the whole background will be just the PPT. So I'll maybe we'll try that out a little later. You can choose to show only one portion of the screen. So if I have a lot of things open in small windows, but I want people just to see one part of my screen, I can click portion of screen and I can select how much of my screen I want to show. In advance, you also have the option of not sharing anything visually. That means you don't have to share anything on screen, but only that they can hear the background sound. So you have that option of doing that. Okay, so here, like you just click on advance, you click on PowerPoint virtual, and then you just click on share. So that's how you do it. So now just a quick look at how my screen usually looks like when I'm facilitating or co-facilitating, like how I have an eye on everything that's happening. So this is what my screen usually looks like, wherein I have the chat box on the right, I have the participants panel floating about, I have people's videos on top. So I'm looking at people, I'm keeping an eye on who has unmuted themselves. Okay, so if I see someone has unmuted themselves, if I've asked a question as a facilitator and someone has unmuted, then I know that they want to speak. So as soon as I see someone unmuted, usually they go at the top. Here you see that this person is not at the top because the host and the co-host and the hosts are always at the top. And then come all the other participants below. So this is how the participant panel usually works. And as soon as someone unmutes themselves, they go at the top of the list right below the co-host. So your eye should be on that. And as soon as you see someone's unmuted, then you know that they want to speak or they want to share something. And so you can just be like, yes, brother, do you want to share something? Do you want to share your thoughts and give us an answer or something like that? So when you're proactive like that, they feel good. Otherwise, I've noticed a lot of times they unmute themselves. We don't address them because we don't even realize they want to speak. And then they just don't share and then they just go back to mute. So this is a good way to give an opportunity to people who are a little shy, who are not so proactive. And if you see that they want to share, you can call them out. Someone has written on chat, usually we get participants panel followed by chat box at the bottom. Yes, so things, how to keep participants panel on left. So you can just pop it out. So there's an option where you can pop out. Like even here, if you see this chat and you see this tiny arrow pointing downwards, if you click on that and write pop out, then it'll just be a floating window and you can put it wherever it's comfortable for you in on your screen anywhere. Okay, controlling participants. So like I said, there are times when people forget to mute themselves. There's a lot of background noise. They're talking in the background, or there's a lot of disturbance, and it's disturbing everybody. So, or they've started their video, they don't realize it, and you don't want disturbing videos and you want to stop that. So you can just go next to their name and stop their video. So like you see over here, on this black box on top, you can either ask someone to unmute, you can stop their video, you can chat with them, you can pin or spotlight. So pin their video means it'll be on a larger screen for you, and spotlight means for everyone. Even if I'm speaking, but I spotlight someone else's video, you will see them instead of me along with the screen share. So spotlight means it becomes big and everyone can see them. They get the priority for the video. You can turn this on and off. You can remove spotlight. You can add spotlight. You can add more than one person to spotlight. So the screen will have both people sharing equal screen space. You can make someone host, but then you will lose the host status. So if I make this participant host, I will not be host anymore. They will be the host. So host is the most control. I mean, you have the most control as a host of the meeting. Second is co-host. You can have only one host, but you can have multiple co-hosts. So that's something to keep in mind. What is the significance of you having joined through your phone as well? Okay, over here today, so that I can keep an eye on, can you see the screen properly? So sometimes if we have tech issues, I feel like, oh, people can see the screen I'm talking about, but sometimes the screen doesn't change for everyone. So just to double check, is everyone seeing what I think they're seeing? I am double checking on my phone to make sure you're seeing what I think you're seeing. So it's a good idea to sign in from two devices just to make sure the meeting's going fine when you don't have somebody else helping you with that. You can remove people from the meeting. You can send people back to the waiting room once, even though they're in the meeting. If I feel like, oh, I want to put this person in the waiting room, you can. So that's an option. Controlling participants. These meeting controls can be accessed. Okay, I've already told you all these options. If you are a participant, you can go to the participant panel and raise your hand virtually. If I ask a question, who wants to, for example, who wants to take this up, or who will do this, whatever. And if you want to volunteer for something, or if you want to be like, yes, I'm ready to move on or anything, and in answer to the question asked, you can raise your hand. And so the host, everyone will be able to see that your hand is raised, and so people will identify. If y'all want, y'all can try that out as participants as well. Okay, so I see some hands have been raised. That's cool. Okay. What is this called? When you sign into your account and go to your profile section, this is what you will see. So I have access to a paid version of Zoom, which is what I'm conducting this meeting from. But from my other ID, I have also signed up for a free Zoom ID account. So I can use it for myself to try things out, to have mini sessions, to have mini meetings and things. So this is one of my free account profiles. You will be able to see your meeting ID. You will be able to see the email from which you are signed in from the account. You'll be able to see, which is important, license type. It's a basic, and I can have up to 100 participants in my basic meeting. If I show you the meeting that I'm having from this ID, it probably has 300, up to 300 participants. So, those are some of the features. Now, remember we spoke about host key some time back. Yamini asks, can we change the email ID? No, you cannot change the email ID because you have to sign in from that email ID. So for example, if I use my personal Gmail ID and I just open a new Zoom account from that, which is free, that's okay. So you can do that. If you want a paid version, there are monthly and annual subscriptions. So you have to think beforehand, which email ID do I want my Zoom account from? But the password can be different, right? I can have a different password for my email ID and I can have a different password for my Zoom account. So it doesn't matter. So host key is what I was talking about. This is where you will find the host key in the profile area, which is usually hidden. You click on show. So here are the different things. Host key, you have to be very careful who you give this to, because basically they can come into any meeting that they have a link for, and then they can just like here. So if I share my host key with somebody who I know has to take over the meeting, then they can just come into the meeting without signing in, because I've allowed people to come in before host, right? And then there's this button called claim host. Because there's no host, you can see this button. If I click on claim host and then I enter the host key, which is a small number of 6 to 10 digits. So if I enter the host key, then I become the host of the meeting. So that's the magic key. Then again, if I am host right now, I can make somebody else host, but then I lose the host status. I don't even become a co-host. I become a normal participant, and then the new host has to make me co-host. So this is how they'll ask. If I want to make somebody else host, then they'll be like, do you want to change the host to Kosha? Like, are you sure? And then you just click yes. Same with co-host. You have this window which asks you if you're sure. Now, what does a co-host do? We've already gone through this. I'm not going to read all of this again, but you just have to help make sure the meeting goes fine. Like note the number of participants, help with the tech part of the session, mute participants when you hear disturbance, maintain the quality of the workshop, maybe take down sharings. Okay, so this is something that the co-host does. Difference between co-host and host in a Zoom meeting. Host of the meeting has all meeting settings. Co-host has almost all as well. But like I can remove someone from being co-host. I can make someone co-host. I can make someone host if I am the host. So host is topmost and then is co-host. Earlier, this used to be it where poll and breakout room feature can only be accessed by host, but Zoom has changed that now. And co-hosts can also access this feature. Again, just a reminder of how you can become a host. Sign into your Zoom account using ID password. Claim host by using a host key. Or the third is if somebody else starts the meeting and then makes you a host. So that's okay. Now we come into views. There are different kind of views in Zoom. As a host, whatever view I choose, all of you will see that. The speaker view is where you can see the person who is speaking. So they will be mainly featured on screen for everyone. Gallery view means all our videos will be shown together. And immersive, like I told you, was one background and everyone just comes onto the same background. I don't usually use that setting. Audio settings. So it's great to explore audio and video settings, especially if you're hosting a meeting, and I'll tell you why. When you start audio meetings, video meetings, these are the general settings you will see. And there are some really good features which will enhance the way people see and hear you. For example, you can suppress background noise. So like if I have some background noise behind me, but I'm speaking, I'm conducting a session, I can just automatically, ask Zoom to adjust my volume or remove the background noise, make it low so people can hear me better. I can test my audio levels. Similarly with video, there are options wherein in video you can, why don't I show that to you? Okay, I think you can just try it out by yourselves because I'm trying to save time here. So even in video, there are options wherein they can adjust follow light automatically. So if I am sitting in an area which is not well lit, it'll still try and light up my face better so people can see me more clearly and lit up. So there are a couple of different options for background and filters is also where you'll get some zoom backgrounds, or you can blur your background. And in video where you get video, like enhancing the video quality that people can see you in. Then we come to the much awaited breakout rooms. In breakout rooms, which are used for smaller discussions, you can make 2 people to as many people as you want in one room. You can either set breakout rooms manually or automatically. So if you choose automatically and you choose, you know that you have certain, like if you have 15 participants in the participant panel who are in the meeting and you choose automatic, so Zoom will automatically randomly put people together in the number of rooms you've created. So if I create 3 rooms, then those 15 people will be divided in these 3 rooms. If I create 5 rooms, then the 15 people will be divided into 5 rooms equally. So that's how randomly it gets chosen. So only hosts and co-hosts can see this button. So you probably can't see it right now, but I can see it on my settings. But you have to remember to enable this in your meeting settings, otherwise you will not have a lot of these features. Can we change settings while the meeting is going on? Yes, you can. But sometimes I have noticed that it doesn't reflect immediately. So you can try, but it's always better to have these settings before the meeting's actually going on, because sometimes it doesn't reflect and then you can't use those features. But I mean, you do have the option to try and do it at that time. Okay, so here when we click on breakout rooms, again, automatically assign 6 participants into 2 rooms. So 3 participants per room. This is how they'll just tell you if you want to do it automatically. And this is automatic distribution. You can rename breakout rooms. So instead of calling it breakout room 1, breakout room 2, you can rename it for like flying angels or happy hearts, whatever. So you can name your rooms accordingly. You can move people if you feel like, oh, actually, I don't think these 3 are a good combination. I can exchange one person with another person in another room, or I can move one person to the other room. So one person has 2 people, the other person has 4 people. I can do that as a host or a co-host. So, already said this, add a room. Even if your breakout rooms has been opened, and if I feel like I want to add more rooms, you can just add a room and reshuffle people manually, even though you've started doing it automatically, then you can take over and change things. So yeah, recreate is like a reset button. That means everything will go back to start and you can redistribute people all over again. Open all rooms begins the breakout rooms. Now, before we go into that, I also want to talk about options. You get some really good options. In breakout rooms in terms of, do you want people to manually click join room and then go into the breakout room? Or if you want to directly push people into the breakout room, like they have no choice and they automatically join the breakout room, then that's an option too. That's an option we use a lot because sometimes people take their own sweet time to click on the join breakout room and then they don't join the breakout room and it becomes a lot of hassle. So we just forcefully make people join breakout rooms. They automatically get into their rooms. You can also choose the timing and options. You can choose for how long do you want people to be in the breakout rooms. Like, is it a 10-minute breakout room? Is it a 5-minute breakout room? And then you can choose how much buffer time do they have. Like if your 5 minutes are over, then they have a 30-second countdown to wrap up their discussion and automatically join the main room again. So all these are things that you will find in the options panel, which is very helpful. only hosts and co-hosts can see all the breakout rooms. The people can only see the room that they are in, the participants. They cannot see other rooms, they cannot see other people, they can't see anything else except their little room, which is 3 other people or 2 other people in there. The host and the co-host can join any breakout room at any time. So sometimes when we're conducting workshops, what we do is the co-host jumps between rooms to make sure that all the participants are comfortable, they're discussing, they're not stuck anywhere, and everything's going smooth. So we have the option to do that. What we sometimes also do is we create one more extra room and we call it the green room. So if there are multiple co-hosts who are organizing or conducting the workshop, then during the breakout room, all the hosts and co-hosts can meet in the green room and can discuss and then distribute like, okay, one co-host go to room one co-host go to room 2, see if everything's going okay, and then come back to the green room. As a host, I prefer not to go to any breakout rooms and I allow the co-host to do that. Because during breakout rooms, what I find, and this is personal experience, is a lot of people, because of technical issues or whatever, either leave the meeting and join again, or new people join the meeting during breakout rooms, and then they're not assigned to any breakout room anymore. So they're just there in the main session looking lost because everyone else is gone. So then you have to welcome them, put them into breakout rooms again. So you need someone in the main session handling the to and fro of coming and going participants, while the co-host can make sure that the breakout rooms are going smoothly. So that's how it's good to distribute the work. Host can broadcast message. So I've already said that. Here is how you can do it. There's a button called broadcast message to all, and then you can type in your message. Keep it short because it disappears in a moment, and then just broadcast it. And now the new feature is you can broadcast your voice as well. After host closes all breakout rooms, it can give a 60-second or a 30-second timer. That depends on you, whatever you set for the meeting. And then they automatically join the main session again. You have the option to open the same rooms again. So if the workshop has maybe 2 breakout room sessions or activities, you have the option to open the same room. So the same people get to discuss with each other again, or you can recreate complete new combinations of people who are going to discuss with each other. This is up to you. So these are some of the options that I already told you about. So I always tick mark move all participants into breakout rooms automatically so that they're all in the rooms and they don't just dilly-dally in the main session, because that wastes a lot of time and it's just not productive to the workshop. Second option is allow participants to return to the main session at any time. So in between, I do not tick mark that, because what I find sometimes is there are participants who are not there to interact. They just want to listen. And every time there's an interactive session like this happening, they don't want to participate. They come back to the main session and then they're just there, and it's counterproductive to what we're trying to do. So you can choose whether you want to allow them to do that or not. I'm sorry, it's already 3 o'clock. And I hope it's okay for you all to go a little over. While we are conducting the session, can we at the background keep breakout room allocation ready? Very good question, Priyanka. Yes. So usually what we do is when I and my co-facilitator is conducting the session, one of us does the introduction or explaining the activity, while I, in the back end, I am already beginning to create breakout rooms, see how many participants we have at that point of time, put them into rooms, keep all this ready, so that once the activity explanation is done and it's time to send them to breakout rooms, we don't waste any time creating them at that time and everything's ready. This is again why it's good to have more than one person facilitating. So when one person conducts, like You break down the workload between all of y'all so that the workshop goes smoothly. Also, it's very recommended to have a tech person who does not conduct any sessions, but is just there to help with the back-end tech. So then the tech person would know which activity has breakout room sessions, and then they can keep all this ready at that time. So this is just some of the slides that we show to people so that they know what's happening. Like you can't just randomly send them to breakout rooms because they'll be like, what just happened? Where did everybody go? So you need to tell them what's happening, what you're doing, that you will be sent to breakout rooms. There is a ask for help button while you're in your breakout room. So if you're stuck, if the other people you're in the breakout room with are not interacting, you can ask for help. So the host will be notified, and then one of the hosts or co-hosts can just pop into your breakout room and help you out. Polls. So even when you're setting the meeting, when you're scheduling the meeting, you have the option of polls right here at the bottom. You can create a poll. So you can actually add and create multiple polls and keep ready at that time itself. And this is how you do it. You add a title for the poll, for example, feedback on the values workshop or anything. Or, maybe a particular activity related thing like different options for positivity, like whatever. So one, you give a title for the poll, then you add your question. What is your question? Did you find today's session useful? And then you give a multiple choice. Yes, no, things like that. So, and you can add more than one question. Okay, so when it is time to open the poll during the meeting, you will see this poll button, which only the hosts and co-hosts can see. And once you click on it, this is the poll. So you see that there are two questions, and then you click on launch poll. So it goes on the screen of all the participants, and then they can just answer the questions, which I have a poll ready for you all today, so we can try that out. So hosts and co-hosts can view the results in real time as and when people are answering. So you will see so here you will see attendees are now viewing questions. 4 of 7 voted. So there are 7 people and 4 of them have voted. You'll be able to see how many people have answered and what are the answers. You will not see who said what, but you will see how many people have answered. And then you can share the results with everyone on screen so that participants can see what the majority vote was, what people thought of it. How do you end a meeting is very important as well. Do not forget to end a meeting. The button is here and you have to end meeting for all. Why this is important is because if more than one person is using the Zoom ID and you don't end the meeting and you just leave it, it obstructs the other person from starting their meeting. So it's good to follow this conduct. So end meeting for all. If you click on leave meeting, then the meeting will still go on. It's just that I will leave the meeting, but everyone else will still be there. And if I click on end meeting for all, then the meeting will just get over and everyone will go. So it's important to have that. How do you communicate with a co-facilitator during a workshop? 2 options, private chat on Zoom or WhatsApp web, like you switch between screens, or even your phone. Okay, so that is the end of my presentation. I hope that was helpful with you conducting your sessions. If you have any questions at all, I would love to take them and see if I can help you out. Okay, so let me launch the poll so you can kind of try that out for yourself as participants. So I've put a poll out there. Let me know if it's working for y'all. And you can try and answer it. So as a host and co-host, I can see that 4 of 9 people, 44% people have answered. So I'm still waiting for the rest of y'all to answer, and then I can share the results. So you can again name this poll anything you want. I have not named it. So I just made it very quickly before the session started. Okay, so I'm gonna end the poll here. And I'm gonna share results. Okay, and these are the results that I saw that I can see. So thank you so much for participating in the poll. If you have any questions, can the participants record on their computer? It depends. It depends if that's allowed or not at that time. Can the host have automatic option to stop recording when they're in green room? Not automatic option, but thank you for bringing this up, Priyanka. Very important point. When you're recording a workshop like I am today, if I send all of you in green room and in breakout rooms, sorry, and there's nothing happening on screen because everyone's in their different rooms, and Zoom does not record what's happening in individual breakout rooms. So when people are seeing the recording, there'll be a big gap of nothingness on screen. So to avoid that, as soon as we send participants in breakout rooms, we pause the recording. And when everyone returns back from the breakout rooms, we resume recording so that people who are looking at the recording, for them, it goes smoothly. I do see the option to record on computer as participant. So yes, so maybe then that's enabled right now, but that's a feature that you can enable or disable. So that really depends on the meeting settings. Even after clicking on share computer sound while sharing screen, it doesn't work. How to resolve the same? So Kajal, for this, what you have to do is you have to keep your audio ready. So I use just an instrumental audio or something that I keep ready on my Google Chrome tab. And then I click on the play button. Then I go to share screen. Then I click on share sound, and then I go and, make sure that the volume is also important to see, which is why we need to do our audio video tests before the meeting starts to make sure everything's working fine. How to change slides if the co-host is sharing screen? So that depends on if we enable. So I have never tried this where I give someone else the permission to share slides when I am sharing screen. So that's something we'll have to really do some R&D and try out. It's a relatively new feature. It wasn't there before. I don't use it. So I've never felt the need for it, but please do some research. Like now that you know, Zoom IDs have the same setup, have the similar, settings, you can actually play around with that and try things out for yourself. So I hope that answers questions. Okay. Any other questions that y'all have for me? Okay, yeah, whiteboard. Sorry, I just stopped my charging. How to change slides? Okay, whiteboard. Yes, let's try that. What I'm going to do is I'm going to share a whiteboard. So I hope everyone can see that on screen right now. Sorry. Okay. Everyone can see my screen. So here I have options for text. I create a text box, and this is testing whiteboard. Okay, I can also move this text anywhere on screen. I can draw. Okay, so as and when people are sharing, I can add things. I can erase things. I can change the color. Where I go and change the color. So I can clear all drawings. I can undo, I can redo, I can spotlight so that you know where my mouse and cursor is pointing. And then I can also save this. I'm sorry, you can't see all the options that I can see right now. I just realized that. But you can try out the whiteboard option and then you can save all this. Like you can save the whiteboard as a JPEG or a PNG. So you have access to that later on. Can participants view whiteboard? No, because it's in share screen. So you have to be a host or a co-host to share a screen and then you share the whiteboard. But I'm sure you can see what's happening, right? Like you can see the whiteboard. You just can't see the option for the options that I can see to change color and all. Yeah. So where the option for the whiteboard is when you click on share screen and then you click on sharing a whiteboard. So that's where the whiteboard option comes in. Okay, great. So thank you so much for being a part of this session. I hope I answered all your questions. Anything else? Any last comments before we close for today? Okay, so we will be putting this video up on YouTube as unlisted, and I will be circulating the link with a few people who couldn't make it here today because they want to learn all the features. I hope you found this useful. So thank you so much. Whiteboard can be used by participants? No. Whiteboard can only be used by the person sharing the screen. So when participants are sharing their sharings, the person who's sharing the screen will note it down. So how we usually do it on a PowerPoint slide, this is an option instead of that. So you can either have an empty PPT slide where you take down people's sharings, or you can do it on the whiteboard. It's another option. So thank you so much and have a lovely, lovely Sunday evening. Thank you. Bye, everyone.